We live at the interface between success and failure in a society that applauds success and that is in pretty serious denial of failure. These are people, some of them extremely good people, and they know they've failed.
There isn't a pronoun, there isn't a they, the, or the homeless. They're individuals in need in all sorts of different ways.
I think in Los Angeles we see so many people who are living on the streets that we are really immune to it. You know, sometimes people are overwhelmed by the numbers, the sheer number of homeless people, and I think in LA, why it's become the capital is just decades of neglect and inertia.
It's kind of the privilege and the obligation both, as being a human being, to help somebody else less fortunate than yourself.
To be present, to be supportive, to be able to help people have that first step back to something meaningful. And that's what the Food Coalition does.
Greater West Hollywood Food Coalition was essentially an idea of the city of West Hollywood. And they put out the word in 1985 that they wanted volunteers to feed the homeless. We decided early on that we were going to serve a meal 7 days a week. We figured, well, you know, if you're hungry every day. You're not hungry on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Then we had a long, complicated relationship with the city, and they were supportive, and then because we were almost too successful having a community of homeless in Plummer Park, we had to leave there, and we've been through 10 kitchens, including my own house.
When I first came in 1988, the meal consisted of some punch and a sandwich. On Monday, they had a bucket of soup and they had a sandwich and they had some Kool-Aid. But everybody knows that that's not a basic meal. I decided then that there had to be more food in the world than just that.
We were struggling with trying to find sources of food, and she said, well, I'll get on the phone. And I had no idea who Doris was. Little by little, I realized that Doris was our ultimate weapon.
This is tonight's soup here. This is a big pot of turkey and vegetables is what this is here tonight.
Thanks to Doris, we pick up food from caterers and studios and restaurants and bakeries all over the city. Without it, we would never have had all this success with getting the food that we do.
We have a vendor here in Sodexo. They do the food preparation, they do the cooking, they have volunteers themselves. And that's one of my key vendors in this place. And so they reach out too. They want to be part of this feeding the homeless.
And we seem to be about the only people now that are more or less feeding a basic meal. Some of them give a sandwich once a week or every Sunday night or dinner or something like that. But basically, I believe that the homeless people deserve a meal every night.
It's come to be said that food lines, food service programs that are outdoors are an anachronism. Back to a time where we weren't able to provide better services. I wish we were beyond that need, but we're not. And I think every day that we're out there and we're able to see people that haven't used other services come and get food, help, support from the Food Coalition, we prove how much it's needed.
You're able to see and touch every individual that you're trying to help. And then the glorious moments, without overstating, is to see some of those fine results.
They were doing a job that I thought was very important that no one else was doing. I mean, I think, you know, it's all very well to do big programs, but homelessness is right on the street level. The amount of time and effort and thoughtfulness and emotion and dedication that they've put in are what has made the organization work. I don't think any organization can sustain itself unless you have a couple of people who are just madly dedicated.
You can't just, you know, say, oh, here's a couple of bucks, you know, I'll see you next week, do this and do that. That's not leadership. Leadership is being there day after day after day.
Ted and Penny, you guys are what Jesus' second greatest commandment is about, that you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. And that's exactly what they do. They give their time, they give themselves for the Food Coalition, and you know, sometimes thank you is just, it's a completely inadequate phrase.
You know, they work magic every day, and they are teaching people every day by example, and as a result, there are hundreds of others that have learned and are providing that service through the coalition.
My food budget doesn't really make it through the week, and I love this place. It ties all the ends together, and the food is usually always great, and the people are very nice here. And I'm very grateful to be a member of this, to belong to this.
Having Penny and Ted's involvement in the coalition was a natural place for us to begin our outreach into the community. We want to educate children in ways that involve them in the real world beyond the school.
The first day I went there, I was a little shy because I'd never been around so many people for helping out. I felt a little sad because I wouldn't like living on the street every night and trying to find something like a bed, and seeing them having food makes me cheer up a little because I see them have something to eat and something that makes them more healthy.
Part of what young children don't get many experiences with is the socioeconomic spectrum of our society. And for them to grow up thinking about somebody other than themselves is a huge gift for young children. That should be an important, fundamental part of every child's education.
13 years ago, the Greater West Hollywood Food Coalition recognized that they had a relatively stable group of people who were utilizing their services. And one of the largest unmet needs for that population was medical care. The Food Coalition reached out to UCLA, and the School of Public Health was interested in trying to find a partnership.
In the space of about 6 months, instead of just having volunteers to help us serve the meal, there was created a mobile clinic. In many ways, they are now the tail that wags the dog. People come to Sycamore and Romaine to go to the doctor, and then they eat.
Providing food is sort of one of the smallest things that they do. They're bringing doctors and nurse practitioners to them, and they begin to talk about their health issues, maybe for the first time in a very, very long time.
At the site, we have our student coordinators do a triage where they will go up and down the line to see if anyone would like to see the doctor that night, or see the lawyer, or see if they would like some other social services. We hand out hygiene kits that include toothbrushes, toothpaste, dental floss, and soaps, shampoos, socks, and hand out clothing. And for those who would like more services, we then have our undergraduate case managers work with them to understand more the context of where they're coming from.
I was helping out at a local church in my neighborhood, and they have a weekly program in which they distribute sandwiches and clothing. And one of the first people I met was a man, and he was talking to me and some others, and he was exuberant, and a month or so earlier he moved into an apartment of his own. And I think it was 11, 12 years that he had been living on the streets. And the first question that I asked him was like, how did you do it? And he said, oh, Ted Landreth.
The main thrust of what we're trying to do now, other than help people survive the street, is to get them one by one, in small numbers to begin with, off the street into what is called permanent supportive housing. You can't really get along very well in this society, in this economy, in this culture if you don't have a place to live.
This one young, sort of 40-ish young man, he was homeless for maybe 18 years or so. And then eventually we were able to get him a certificate from the city of West Hollywood and to find the appropriate housing. And Ted and I went and looked for apartments for him and found this fantastic little bungalow behind a house. And I cannot describe to you the joy in his face. I mean, he started dancing around the room. He just gave us a hug, and he doesn't know how to say thank you. How do you say thank you when you sort of just open the door to a new chapter in his life?
Years ago, there was an article written by Malcolm Gladwell. He did a New Yorker piece that's still very, very relevant, and it was called $1 Million Murray. And he chronicled the life of a guy by the name of Murray who lived in, I think it was Reno, Nevada. And over the course of 8 years, he consumed over $1 million, about $120,000 a year in costs. And he was never housed. And the cops were realizing that they were incarcerating him for these minor misdemeanor charges, you know, and he was just getting sicker and sicker. You know, really, throughout Los Angeles, we have tens of thousands of Murrays who are, you know, living and dying on the streets.
It turns out that we are, in some respects, better able to figure out who among the homeless we serve might qualify for a Shelter Plus Care certificate, because we get to know the people we serve little by little. We are, I would say, the ideal organization to help find the people who would benefit and can benefit from federal housing subsidies.
What Ted and Penny do is remarkable. By working with people over time, they actually provide mentorship. They are able to get people who once did not see themselves as being able to have a job, working, volunteering, being able to help support other people, and that pride builds.
I think it's really great if you can help out with homeless people, because there's a lot of homeless people all over, and I think that that's really sad, and I think that we should help out.
It keeps you on track. It makes you understand what's important, what's significant, that all the glitter and glam and sort of surface trappings are not really going to make you happier in the long run, but what really makes you happier is to feel useful.
There are as many ways to become homeless as there are homeless individuals. There are some commonalities, and we can certainly tackle those, but there are always going to be people who don't, who can't, who aren't able to at this moment. And the question has to be, what do we as a society do?
What is the only sensible solution to the homeless problem, if you will? And that is getting people into homes where they can live like decent citizens.